Hello, ngHouston. We have not seen you guys in a while. There's been a lot going on in the world, and we haven't been here in a while, and we're glad to be back. We have a great show tonight. I have a panelist I want to introduce, Jeffrey Bosch. Have you been on our show before? I think you have.
Yeah, I think it's my third time, something like that.
Yeah.
Always good to be here.
Jeffrey's my neighbor in the Netherlands, and he's become a friend. So then I'm gonna go on his show, and he's gonna go on my show, and we'll do a little cross visiting there. So thank you very much for joining us, Jeffrey. And our guest tonight, Matt Carson. How are you doing, Matt?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good. So we met over on Angular Nation. And for anyone who doesn't know Angular Nation, it's a free place to go, and we just all kind of collaborate over there and help each other figure out this Angular thing. And we have a lot of topics we talk about, and so I met Matt over on Angular Nation and convinced him to come on ngHouston and teach us some Angular elements. That's going to be really cool. And I see Sean Paul Neckelman in the chat. Hello, Sean. It's good to see you. I haven't seen Sean in forever. Okay, so Matt, you want to share your screen?
Sure.
I'm gonna put that in there. All right. So if you want, you can just dive right in and teach us something cool.
Okay. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes, we can. Looks perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know how familiar you are with Angular elements. Basically what it is, or I'll go over what we're going to do first. We're going to talk about what Angular elements is. And we'll do a basic demo of an element, and then we'll show how to use it with Angular material, and then how to deploy it locally and with Firebase. So Angular elements is also known as like web components, but they're basically just a way to use your Angular components as an element in the DOM. So once you get everything deployed, it would be as simple as sending like 2 lines of HTML code to someone, and then they could use your Angular component without knowing anything about Angular. So why would you use Angular elements? A couple things that I could think of. If you want to add an Angular element or an Angular component to an HTML file, or a website such as WordPress or Wix. This is really what got me looking into Angular elements. I had a client that wanted to use a pretty reactive, or like a calculator with a lot of different reactive components, and I thought it was a good use for Angular, but I didn't want to have to build all that with PHP and JavaScript and WordPress. So I looked into Angular elements, and it worked out pretty well. The other use case would be if you're using something like Vue or React or even AngularJS, and that's probably maybe used more widely. But then you could really use it anywhere on the web. You can use an Angular component. It works for most browsers: Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Opera, and Safari.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry.
Sure.
On the last one. Well, it's not a question for me, but I just want to point it out because I don't know if you're going to show this in the code, but so the way that you would use an Angular element is once you package it as an element, it's basically just like an HTML tag, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So this is how, and somehow you're like packaging all of the Bootstrap and everything that you need to go into Angular, and then you just insert it in any web page, like any HTML page, just like a tag.
Exactly, yeah. So you just really have to import the JavaScript source or the script tag, import the script tag, and then add that one element.
That's awesome. And you're going to show us how to do that.
Yep.
Woohoo! All right.
So yeah, it doesn't work great in Internet Explorer. Sometimes you can get it working, but a lot of the like change detection doesn't work like you would think it would. So if you have a lot of Internet Explorer users, that might be something you consider, or at least throw up a banner that says to use Chrome or one of the others.
Sorry, I'm messing up the layouts here. I'm trying to figure out StreamYard. Sorry, Matt.
So now we'll go through a basic demo. There's not a whole lot to it, but there's a few steps. So getting started, we'd start a new project. and then we'd add in Angular elements with the ng add command, and then add a new component, like a custom component. I'm going to go over here, and I've already got a project set up, but I'll go ahead and add in Angular elements. And then really the only other thing besides these couple commands is you have to make some changes to your app.module. I'm going to generate a new custom component for the element that we're going to use. So in the app module, you have to first, you don't need a bootstrap. Normally you would bootstrap like the app component. So you're going to take that out, and then you also have to add this entry components array, and you're going to add the component, the custom component that you're going to use as your element here. And then since you're not bootstrapping anything here, you're going to use this ng-do bootstrap, and that's going to be where you're going to define you're going to register your custom element. So I'll switch back to the code and we'll do that. So we'll take out the bootstrap component, and then we'll add the entry component. Add the injector. And we'll add the ng-do bootstrap. And then we're going to add that element.
I think you have an extra colon, Matt, in your line 20.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Import the injector. This is an Angular elements command that create custom element, and then we put in that demo component, and then it's injector. And then lastly, we're going to register the custom, we're going to define the custom element. So the first parameter is just whatever you want to call it. So in our case, it's just custom element. And then we just add in the element we described above. Import this. Angular elements. So that's the majority of like the setup. From here, we just really need to add another, or add our custom component that we're going to use as the element. So we'll just add a simple alert me function. And we'll just make a button here. Okay. And I guess that's the easy and the hard part. That's most of the way completed, but now that we have to build and combine and deploy it. So the first thing to do, and I guess this isn't necessary, but it makes it a little bit cleaner. We combine all the files that would be in like all the JavaScript files in the distribution folder into one JavaScript file. So to do that, we use a node file to concatenate all the files together, and then copy over the CSS files. So we'll create a new concat.js file. And then a couple node libraries that we need to install. One is concat, and the other one is fsextra, which lets us talk to the file system. Just going to import these two libraries first. And we'll do an async self-initiating function here. So these files are going to be, we haven't built the project yet, but these are the files that are going to end up in the distribution file. And then we're going to first just make sure there's a folder called elements, and if not, it's going to create it. And then we're going to use this concat function. It's going to take two arguments. One, files, which is your list of all the files that you want to combine. And the second element is just a string of where you want those saved. So we're just going to do it as an elements.js file. And then this last one is just to move the main CSS file over. In our case, we really don't have any CSS, but if you did, this would be something you need to do. So that should be all we need for that file. The next thing we're going to do is build the project. So we're going to use this ng build -- prod. And then there's another thing we need to add on there, and that's that we need to turn off the output hashing. And the reason we need to turn that off is because these files up here, normally if you don't turn that on, there's going to be a long hash after them, and then we're going to have to update this file every time. So when we turn that off, they just end up being runtime.js, main.js. So this may take a minute. We can go back to the slide here. I think we went over this. So instead of typing that every time, we can create a script in the package.json file, a build script. And we can have it do both the build, and then when it's done, it'll run the node concat.js. So while we're waiting for it to build, we can add that.
While we're waiting for it to build, Fergus wants to know if you've saved all the files. And also if we can share your slides, because your slides are super helpful.
Sure.
After the show.
Yeah.
You're doing such a good job, Matt. It's very hard for me to live code when I'm on YouTube because I get nervous, but you're just doing such a good job. I'm very impressed. I don't want to jinx you. I'm going to go back off. I'm going to turn my camera back off and let you focus. You're doing great.
Ways to mess up beforehand, so we'll see if I can find a third or fourth way.
So far, you're doing great.
Oh, we spoke too soon.
That was my fault, Matt. I jinxed you. I'm sorry.
Let's see. Oh, I think I just left off an S. Okay. So I won't run the npm command again, but when you're changing code a lot, it's a lot easier to just run one command instead of those two separate ones. So the command would just be npm run, and then whatever you called it in your package.json file. So something like that. All right. So the next thing to do would be deploy it locally just to see if it's working. So what I've used for that is the HTTP server, which you can install globally with this command here, the npm install -g HTTP server. And then to start it, you just use the HTTP server command. And then we should just be able to create an index file with the custom element we created, and then the source being that local server that we deployed. I'm going to create just an HTML file in here. start the server so I can see which the address is. And then in the body, we'll just add the, I think it was called custom element. Make sure that this is, so it looks like this is the combined file that we made that we're hosting. So hopefully this shows that button we made. So looks like it's working.
That is very cool.
Yes. So if you're, if you want to use something on a WordPress site and you don't want to mess with PHP, you can really just add in, if you're already in the body, you just need the script tag and then this custom element.
This is really, this was a very, it just looks so simple, but this is what I love about Angular Elements, because I think the beauty of Angular Elements to me is in the HTML. Like, it's just an HTML tag, and you take all this functionality and you package it up and you put it in a little HTML tag and put it wherever you want. I love that.
Right. Yeah. So the next step would be deploying to the cloud. And I've been using
there's more. I'm going to go back off and let you do this. This is exciting.
Oh, you're fine. The one I've been using Firebase just because to me, it's really simple. I'm sure you can do this with Azure or AWS as well. But I like to use Firebase. So the first thing to do, if you don't have the Firebase CLI already installed, would be to use this command here to globally install the Firebase tools CLI. And then after that, you can use the Firebase init, and that should be a lowercase f, but you need to use the Firebase init, and then it's actually going to ask where the public directory is, and the default will be just dist, and then we'll just change that to our elements folder. We're going to choose hosting. Create a new project. Let's call it. And here it's going to default to the public, it looks like. So we're just going to change that to elements. Yes. We don't want to overwrite our file. So now we're just going to change this to the Firebase URL. Just before I do that, we need to run one more command, and that's Firebase deploy. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to take out this elements.
This is the danger of live coding on YouTube.
No. Let's see.
So it's there.
It's there, yeah.
You just saved your app module. Did you change something there? Maybe you're looking at locally on the wrong file. I don't know.
Yeah, I could try running it again.
Just to be sure, maybe.
Yeah.
Your concat.js is not saved. I don't know if that matters.
So basically, summarize it for myself. You just created a standard Angular project. You just generated a new component, added the Angular elements package, right, to the project, made it public in the dist folder or in the elements folder, in this case, by using the concat file. Just did it deploy to Firebase and you're up and running.
Yep, more or less.
Wow. I like it.
Yeah. It's a new error for me. I'm not sure what would cause that.
Well, it worked. So it's the same. Maybe it's. I wonder if it's a different place because that's the same one that you did. So can you roll back to take out that? Can you just change the script source
Back to the local
back to what it was, and then try that, and then so basically it's just not seeing the Firebase, right?
Yeah.
Because it worked until you changed that script source.
You're missing the subdirectory elements there. That's probably your problem here.
What's that?
You're running them from the root of your folder, and you're missing after the before the element.js
right.
the subdirectory elements, or at least it's for the local part. Yeah, should be good now. Here it is.
That's
So it's strange because when you're running it off Firebase, and we see that the link was correct,
right.
because you had that code accessible in the browser, but it's not. Don't worry, we've got Fergus Gallagher in the chat. He's going to give us the answer in a minute.
Right.
This is very mysterious. When Sam Julian came on the show years and years and years ago, when I first met him, and this happened, and then it was stuck, and he couldn't get it working, and then as soon as the show ended, he was like, I found the problem! It was like 2 seconds after we got offline.
Yeah. Well, I had this issue earlier today when I was working through it, and I had source spelled SCR, but that's not it this time.
It's always something like that. It's very difficult to think when everybody's looking at it. I have the problem too. If everybody's looking at me, I can't code. Okay, so do you want to? So what you can do if you want to, you're welcome to fiddle with it for a minute because we have time.
Okay.
Or if you want, you can just keep going and finish through the rest of the slides, and then after the show, you could tell us because I'm sure you know. Obviously, you know how to do it, but it's always something, you know.
I think that's pretty much it.
Did you change? Hold on. Did you change the? Go back to that slide. Did you change that? That last slide.
Sorry. This one here.
Because you had to change the hosting in the Firebase.json. Did you do that? Did I miss it?
I didn't, but I think that.
Yeah, you did it using the CLI,
With the
right?
CLI, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You did that. Okay.
Destination. Let's see. And I did do a GitHub repo, so I can send you that as well.
That's awesome.
It's probably something small. We're all looking at it and don't recognize at this point.
Well, so here's a question: do you have to build it again? Because when it's when you're hosting it in Firebase, and I know it worked, and then when you host it in Firebase, it doesn't work. But the code is there, so all you're doing is so you don't need to build it again, maybe with that script. I'm just guessing because I don't know.
I don't think you should have to, but.
Could you show the error once?
What's that?
Could you just show the error just once? Maybe something pops in my mind. I don't know what, but I'm not the Angular Elements guy. I never used it, so.
The error on this one?
Yeah.
AppRoot did not match any elements because it's not showing that, which is strange because it's there.
I'm going to look at something.
Well, the AppRoot is probably the main component from the Angular system. And this looks good, and this is working, so.
Yeah.
Should we still bootstrap the app component? Just saying strange things? I don't know.
We could try. Usually that gives me an error too.
I wouldn't expect it, but.
I see somebody that said they were importing their code in the head tag and that it was trying to bootstrap before the DOM was ready. And it said you might want to move that script into the body tag.
Yep.
Because it's trying to do it.
Sounds reasonable.
So when you got it from Firebase, it was just taking a little bit longer, and you were getting away with that when you were running it on localhost. But when you moved it to Firebase, then it was not ready when the page was loading, and that's why. Can you even try moving it to the under the body tag?
Under it? Okay.
And it is from the file, so it's also from the code. So it's not like a random other error. Custom element. It's not custom elements, right? An S at the end, at the HTML tag. Just checking in.
I think so, because it worked on locally.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we go through the rest of the slides? And because this has happened before, and it's no big deal, and obviously we believe you that it works, and I know that your code repo works. We'll finish going through the slides, and then right after the show, we'll go in the YouTube comments and tell us what the problem was.
Okay, sure. And I really think this was the last slide here. Just run that Firebase deploy command, and so just a question slide here.
Okay, so like I said, this was really awesome. It's a good demo, and it's really interesting. I like the functionality. So can you pull up, because we're still sharing your screen? Can you pull up your GitHub, or you know what? You can just tweet it if you want. Put it in the YouTube comments right below so that everybody can see your GitHub, because you said you have this in a public repo that you can share with us.
I do. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so put that in there, and you guys can see the links below. And then Matt, I am sure as soon as YouTube is off, it's going to be really easy for you to fix the problem and figure out what it is. And then when you do that, just comment right down below, and we'll see it there.
Okay. Yeah, will.
All right. Thank you so much for showing us this demo. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate this tutorial. And Matt Carson, on what was your YouTube or your Twitter handle again?
Matt_Carson.
All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Bye.
See you.